Yo, this is Drew Gulak, and you're listening to the 3 Count Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And with this being season 6 in our 400 and something episode, I would just hope you say it with me. I am your Sherpa, because like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. That's why I said wrote me. It's about who's into the ring. So who's into the ring? You can find this man at Beyond. You can find this man at SNW. You can find this man at LVAC. You can find this man formerly of the WWE, NXT, SmackDown, Raw, Main Event. If it was a show on WWE, he was there. That is him. He is the Legal Eagle. He is the head of the University of Stretcher. He is surprising those in the colony. And whether he is the master of PowerPoint or Catchpoint, he is Drew Gulak.
Woo!
And
Thank you so much for the intro. Appreciate that. It's very damn, dude. I'm gonna go climb up the mountain and jump off it again.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, that's what we do. You know?
I'm
No,
hyped.
hey, so we actually got introduced to a mutual friend. And from that point, I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I want to get Drew like on the show. This dude literally studied at the Harvard and Yale of professional wrestling. Of course, I want to pick his brain and get some knowledge from him.
Yeah, please do. Who is our mutual friend?
Actually, it's Adam Saint.
Oh, Adam.
From
Okay,
SNW.
great.
Saint.
Yeah.
From SNW. Yeah. But it's funny because like I've watched you not just like before WWE. I've been watching and kind of steadily watching your career take off. And then post, right? So you're over at Beyond. I've seen you wrestle there a couple times actually.
Cool.
And and I've watched you. I mean, I've been watching you on IWTV. I always am somewhere busy and I can never get over to the Beyond shows. But yeah, seeing you work and stuff like that. So it's definitely a lot of fun watching you, continue to keep driving and stuff while you have like, you're rebuilding this whole thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We never crossed paths on the independents ever?
Which is really weird because, well, I'll be fair. When I started wrestling, you were already at the E. So we had not crossed paths yet.
Okay, gotcha. So you started in like 2016, like around
I
then?
started 2021.
2021. Oh, so you're still kind of
2020. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Damn. Okay, cool. All right, great.
Even though I look young, promise you, we are the same age. I am turning 40 this year.
Oh, good on you, man. No, people always get, so why did you jump into it so late? Why'd you decide like, hey, I'm just going to go for it?
That's a great question because when I got out of the military, right, back in 2012, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And funny enough, the first job I applied for was a writer position with the WWE.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. And obviously that didn't happen. And I ended up moving from Massachusetts down to Georgia. And randomly, I found a couple of people who were training to become professional wrestlers. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Maybe that's something I'll do someday. And then I moved to Maryland and I got really big because I just didn't work out. And then my daughter, who then told me I was getting kind of squishy, I was like, okay, I got to get back in the gym. And coincidentally, I found a kid who was performing in the dark arts, is what I like to call it, versus the backyard. So then one of the friends told me, hey, if you want to get trained, go to a school, get trained, and then start working professionally. And I was like, yeah, but I think I'm too old, man. I think I just want to try to get in there and just kind of bang, and let's just see if I can have some fun and hang out with and do this. And yeah, so here we go, going into year 6.
Damn,
like,
good for you.
Yeah,
that is a thing. Like we get a lot of people, I've always had a lot of people like come up to me and go like, I think I'm too old for this. And I tell them like, no, you're not. Like one of my favorite stories, we had a student at the Combat Zone School named Dan O'Hare. He started training when he was 36.
Mm-hmm.
And within 2 years he was, touring around Germany, like wrestling on shows. So like, that's, it depends on what your goal is realistically. Right. And like what your cleanest path of attack is going to be to get there. But yeah, you're never too old to try something out, especially if you have passion for it. So our newest class just graduated, last Thursday, and it was our ninth class at Catch Point. It's a 6-week beginners program. That's kind of what we do. Our oldest student, 54,
Wow.
54 years old. Our youngest was 19 in that class. That's the biggest age difference I've ever seen coaching, like in pro wrestling. So like you're never too old to give it a shot. She did great, by the way. She did awesome, actually.
Yeah, well, and you know what's funny is like I just reached out to Zenith too,
Oh,
and
cool.
she's coming on the show too, so I'm excited to have her on as well and be able to chat with her
Yeah,
about
for the
like her
mommies.
experience.
That's what she
Yeah.
says, for the mommies.
uh, and it's funny because like you talk about like getting into the business, and one thing I've started learning too was like you have to have like some good mentors like to help you along the way, because if you don't have people who you could kind of rely on, it's a hard
It's hard.
business to navigate.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate, and two of them that I have, one of them, Martin Stone
Yeah, of
is
course.
one of mine, of course. And then the other one who you also know, which he actually did the theme song for me, for my theme song,
Blizz.
Blizz.
I was gonna say Blizz. Had to be
Blizz.
Blizz.
Yeah.
Those are some really good people to have in your corner.
Yeah, it's cool because it's cool to be able to chat it up with them, drop them like a quick promo, just kind of see where they're thinking, and then to see how like I can spin my character to kind of keep it consistent with what I want.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great to have those two, and then of course another one of my favorites, which actually two more that I'll throw out there. O'Shea Edwards is another one who
Okay.
I talk to a lot, and then Tyree Taylor.
Oh
Who,
yeah, I just wrestled Tyree for Beyond. I think the beginning of the fall.
yeah,
On then, yeah, I was very surprised. Like I'd never seen Tyree. I've been locked in like a vortex with WWE for the last 8 years, so I hadn't really seen much on the independents. I'd go to shows here and there, but yeah, I heard lots of nice things about him leading up to our match, and
mhm,
like it was awesome. Like he really wanted to get as much as we could out of that one too. And like we didn't have the biggest crowd at that show, but like we wrestled as if there were hundreds of thousands of people in that arena. So it was really really fun time wrestling Tyree and getting to push each other. He hits hard, man. He hits really hard too. Which I appreciate. I
yeah.
appreciate a good licking.
Yeah. So what's funny is that Tyree has known me since my second match, like in my professional career, and I've kept him and talked to him all the time. And I've never actually been in a ring with him, but everybody I meet is like, yeah, he's a little snugger than snug, and I'm like, I can appreciate this.
Yeah,
No, so talk to me because like I I know a lot about you, but that's all because of like, stuff that happens within the E and stuff that's, some of the stuff that goes outside. But I don't know this, and I kind of want to know
sure.
what was the moment that made you say I had to get into the business?
I like just to become a wrestler in general,
Yeah.
like that kind of thing. It for me, it happened like kind of in phases. Like me and my brother grew up in the suburbs of Philly, and we had friends of the family who were a little more blue collar than maybe we were, and they watched every pay per view and all that stuff. So when we were little kids, we'd go over their house, and just like that was my first kind of introduction to like Hulkamania, and Yokozuna, and Macho Man Randy Savage, and just that whole era of television, right when pay-per-views were still kind of fresh, and the gimmicks were huge and colorful, which was perfect for my Saturday morning cartoons.
Yep.
So like we just grew up kind of like as fans of the business, and having a little brother, we're always like practicing moves on each other, and like, oh yeah, I'll try a drop kick on you in the backyard. There's no way that hurts, and then I land on my hip on the back, on the cold ground, and I'm like, okay, there's something more to this. Um, so yeah, we grew up watched through that time, and then we moved into the city, into Philly proper, with my grandparents when I was 10, and one of my teachers had a picture of King Kong Bundy on the blackboard, just like an autograph picture of him, and we bonded over wrestling. And he was telling me about like ECW and how cool that was, and then he said, "There's something even better." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, they fall through glass and tables and like fire right in your face. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like 13 years old. And he's like telling my teacher's telling me this. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. So that was my introduction to combat zone wrestling. I started going there in like 2001, 2000, around then. And I was a kid. I took my little brother and he was in the crowd, and we were pretty hardcore fans. We'd go almost every single time. when they had a show. Within like a year or two, I was helping break the ring down. Met the entire crew. All the wrestlers knew who we were, and just soon after that, we just got an invitation to the school and we started training. Me and him actually signed up illegally on the same waiver. We put both our names on the same waiver and just had our mom like sign it or whatever to start training. She didn't know. She thought we were just going to hang out. Um, but yeah, like that was kind of my direct path right in there. I would help with production, promoting, um, all that stuff, and then I'd start training formally when I was in high school. So I was doing amateur wrestling practice, and then I'd drive an hour through traffic and go do pro wrestling practice. So it was a lot. So like you're a high school kid, that was nonstop, and very tiring, but got through it. Had my first match when I was 17 at my high school. I was a promoter for that show. We raised money for DeVacy, which is the Delaware Valley Association for the Education of Young Children. Raised good amount of money for them. And after that, I just sort of like melded into the Combat Zone Wrestling roster the same time the Chikara School took over our training duties. So I was in with them as well. So yeah, had a really good rounded curriculum as far as getting into the business and learning. Like CZW was just a locker room full of misfits and crazy people, and Chikara was like an OCD comic book nerd fest, so it was like a perfect blend of like crazy. And here I am.
I could
Somehow I
appreciate
think I'm
that.
pretty okay.
I could appreciate that. Actually, crazy enough, right? Is so my trainer is actually out of Sykesville, Maryland. His name is Sickend.
Oh, sick.
Uh,
Yeah, no sick end.
so yeah, that's my trainer, and his trainer was Ruckus.
I know
So
Ruckus well. He was part of
yeah.
that locker room. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm familiar with both with Ruckus and yeah, and then just how amazing of a talent like he was, especially on CZW.
Hmm.
I we share stories about him. I share stories about him all the time with some like my coworkers, and they're like, we have no idea who you're talking about. I'm like, pick up a book, nerd, and
Backyard
learn.
Wrestling 2. There goes the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's
You
like
guys don't know that game?
he's in the game, bro. Yo, so it's a long career, right? I know that you've in and out and tons of matches. So I know you have to have at least one of these. But what's the worst bump you've taken?
Oh, bump wise, the worst bump I've taken. It was not really just the bump itself. It wasn't like getting thrown off of anything crazy. It was so I want to say like 2008. We did a show in Germany, and I took a spine buster. And there was a board that was exposed, and
Mm,
if you land on like the corner, the boards like some of them are planks, like long planks. And one of them was overlapping, so I landed right on the corner, and that definitely messed up something in my lower back. A few years later, um, not even thinking about it, I took a body slam from Cesaro at in a ring at Chikara, and I felt something like was very wrong. I rolled out to the floor, got back in, finished the match. As soon as I went through the curtain in the back, I basically fell on the ground. I couldn't walk. I knocked my sacrum out of alignment, which is the bone in
mm,
between your hips. Um, so that was excruciating. Like I was laid up on the couch for the next few weeks. It was so bad I could like feel myself healing as the day went on.
damn.
Yeah, it took me a while to get back into it, and eventually just like learning different ways to like stretch and like isometric holds and um, you know massage work, that kind of stuff, and heat therapy with a hot tub, hydrotherapy, that kind of stuff, just to let my body heal enough to where I could get back into it. And then I had to start lifting weights to kind of prevent injury over time. So I'd say that became like kind of the only real serious nagging injury I've had, luckily, in my career. Everything else has just been kind of like quick little ones, nothing too crazy. But yeah, that was the worst bump that I had taken. Nothing like getting thrown off a building or something, but I'll take getting thrown off a building and being okay to, getting slammed on the ground by a Swiss Superman and not being able to walk for a few weeks.
No, I mean, on this podcast, I feel like I've heard everything under the sun, like from being power bombed on concrete
Sure.
to just taking a bump wrong, right? Like I was telling my story about how a friend of mine was like, hey, I want to hit the bookend, and so I'm gonna just jump for me and I'll take care of it. And I told him, I was like, listen, like I'm very deceptive. I have a lot of springs in my legs. I just want you to take care of me. Just make sure I don't get dropped and don't lose me in the air. And he's like, yeah, no, no, you're not going to. And he lost me in the air because again, I
Right.
was trying to oversell the jump and the prep. And as I came down, like my back hit, my hips twisted at the same time. And I just felt my lower back just pull. And I was like, the next couple of days, my my boss, who coincidentally was also my personal trainer, he goes, yeah, so I noticed that you kind of felt funny Saturday at your show. Um, wanna go through some stretches? And I was like, nah, nah, I'll be fine. He's like, Devin, get over here and stretch out Red Dog. I was like, damn it.
Good. You
So
probably needed like
yeah, no, I did. It felt amazing afterwards, but I was like, nah, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
trying to
I
play it off.
wasn't good. Yeah, I was not good at all. So I was definitely appreciating that he did that for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, that's one of the things that gets overlooked, right? Like the spectacle of like, I don't know, being a fan and watching wrestling. Even like today, it's probably even harder because like everybody's so athletic. Like you see so much action today, and you don't realize that like if you just take one little misstep, like you are screwed. You
Yeah,
know, and I think like the wrestlers themselves like should respect that more. You know, and it would make kind of the you'd be able to connect with your audience a little bit better once you understand that. Like one of the things I wind up telling a lot of the students who train at Catchpoint, like the audience doesn't really know how it feels to fall down in the ring. Thank goodness, right? Because like there's a lot of injuries that could come with that. So it's your duty to kind of relay that message to them in your performance.
yeah. I watched, so I was at the, Wrestling Open, and they had the 6-man over the top royale, and my friend Joe Casio was in the ring, and he threw a clothesline. He was just on a clothesline, tore his ACL,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Yeah,
Yeesh.
that that really happened." I was like I knew it too the moment that he threw it, and he just kind of I saw him, like, buckle a little bit, and then he just went down. I was like, "Yep." I was like, I knew exactly what happened, and I was like, "Oh god." I was like, "Just
Yeah.
get him out safely," because he still had to go over the top rope, and so they,
Just a
like
step.
yeah, they rolled him out, and I was like he kinda rolled over the top, fell down, got carried out, and I was like, "Yeah." And I
Yeah.
remember talking to him afterwards, I was like, "I know what happened. Yo, you good?" And, like, just kept it stayed in his pocket and just kept, wishing him well.
Yeah, of
I was like,
course. It's like
I
a
was
9-month recovery, like
yeah.
an ACL tear. Yeah, it's scary.
Mhm. Yo, I'm gonna ask this question too. This is one of my favorite questions to ask every person who comes on the show. But what's one of the hardest lessons you've had to learn being in the business as long as you have?
Ooh, ooh. One of the hardest lessons I've had to learn. Let's see. I don't know. They're all like equally hard and easy at the same time, like for different reasons. Um, hmm. Hmm. I want to give you a good answer, so I don't want to just like throw something out. Like if I'd say keep your mouth shut, keep your ears and eyes open, like okay. What's the hardest one? I don't know. I mean, the hardest. I don't know if it's like hard. It was just something that like you have to do is just like being consistent with everything. Like as far as like taking care of yourself physically, like that took me the longest time to probably learn. Like I was lucky I had good strength training coach in high school. I had a really good one. And I was on the wrestling team, so I was athletic. But like I never thought of myself as like I'm going to be a bodybuilder guy. I never thought of that, right? And it wasn't until like 6 or 7 years ago when I started working with a personal trainer that I kind of understood like why you're supposed to take care of your body in that way when you're a pro wrestler. And it's like it's really about preventing injuries over the long time. um like we don't I don't follow a program to get shredded and ripped. Like that's just not what I'm doing. Like I follow a program for longevity purposes. Like the goal of my weight training program is to be able to do this as long as I can and still be healthy and feel good. um it's like that's one part of it, and like the other part of it is like learning how to like take care of yourself financially, because when you're a kid, you kind of fall back on some things. Like maybe you're lucky you have like family to fall back on, right? Or you don't need much. You can just have like kind of a dorm or a minimal apartment and kind of scrape by. But like as you get older, like you need to kind of like be responsible and be able to take care of yourself as far as learning how to manage income. And that's one of the things I think, as being an independent, artist or a performer, in anything, is a lot of times promoters will push you in a direction where they say like, you just take whatever work you can get, don't worry about the money. It's your first year in, you're probably not going to make a lot of money. Like, okay, that might be true, but you still have to be responsible,
Right.
and it's so important that you learn like the proper way to communicate those things, so that you're not hurting the performance or hurting some another aspect of like what goes into making a show,
Yeah.
um, ahead of time. So I think that comes with a little bit of maturity. But yeah, I don't know, like that anything that was like something that was difficult or easy to learn, to me, it's all the same. You know, I take it all in stride.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard for me to just pinpoint one thing that's like that's the hardest lesson to learn. I don't know, like
Well,
all
no,
of
I
it. All
yeah,
of it.
well, I mean, you tapped on 3 things that, like, really good to know, right? One, obviously, take care of your body,
Yeah.
build wise. Financially, make sure you're setting yourself up, right? Because you're not gonna do this forever. And even at that, if you're not listen, you're not you some people, like, I'll put myself in that category. You'll drive 6, 7 hours for, X amount of money, and then you beat yourself up, you throw yourself on the ground, right? And you gotta drive 6, 7 hours back, and, your gas money has gotta get you, there and back. So, take care of yourself financially. And then the last one, just take things in stride because, like, sometimes, like, you just gotta ride the wave, like, and
Oh
you'll
yeah.
be okay.
That's one that you hear pretty common from or pretty frequently from people who have been, around for a while, is that, you're not in control of everything. So you can only control what you can control, right?
Right.
Like Cena loves to throw that one out a lot. Like, control
Yeah.
what you can control, right? And he's totally right. Um, but yeah, it's the truth. Like that's the truth in life in general. You can only control what you can control. So yeah, you got to spend your energy where it's actually going to matter. And I think learning how to manage that is important too, and that comes with a bit of maturity also.
Yeah. It goes back. I'll talk about this a little bit, but I won't dive too much more into it. But like we were talking about right before we went and hit the record button too. It's like, you gotta take care of yourself physically, but you also gotta take care of yourself, like you just said, financially too as well. But mentally and
Yeah,
emotionally it's massive too. Like this business is not like I'll be fair, man. Life is not for the weak of heart.
yeah.
But you gotta set yourself up mentally, like to be able to get over those hurdles and to keep pushing and persevering through like adversity. And sometimes, like in life, like it's not always gonna be fair. And sometimes you have a panic attack and you have to kind of like slow down, kind of see what happened, and learn how to like play with the triggers and like turn them off so that way you're not setting yourself off at the wrong time.
I think that's a journey that's different for everybody. Same with so when I think about mental health, I do think of that as a physical part, right? I think of that as like your brain health. That's your chemistry, and how your machine is working.
Yeah.
I very much lump those in the same. So when I do say like, I train to be in shape so my body doesn't fall apart, like, yeah. And I also try to like have practices in place, that, are going to help keep me healthy and keep me sane, and, allow me to enjoy as much of what I like to enjoy, in life in
Yeah.
general, and be open minded to the so-called, some people will say they're roadblocks. I'll say they're just like turns in the road, that you're not expecting. You got to be open to those because they're coming, whether or not, whether you like it or not, they're coming, and they're going to be different for everyone.
100%.
Yeah.
Yo, all right. Well, I'm gonna take this to my favorite part of the Three Count Podcast, which is called the Three Count Podcast 10 Count Questions. And Mr. Gulak, this is how it works. I'm gonna fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast, and whatever your answer is your answer.
They're not good. Oh man. All right, cool. All right.
Well, I'm gonna put on the
Yeah.
imaginary timer for
Sometimes sometimes they're not good when I just answer quickly. Go ahead.
Hey, that's fine. I'm
All
gonna
right.
help you through this. All
Okay.
right, put that imaginary timer. Bing. And in the words of my favorite commentator, Mike Goldberg, here we go.
Oh boy.
SmackDown or Raw?
Okay.
Which one? SmackDown or Raw?
Oh, SmackDown.
Yeah, I was like, I see you on there more times than anywhere else.
SmackDown.
Favorite movie?
Oh, The Prestige.
That's a great pick.
So good, dude. I watch it and I
Oh,
see new things every single time.
oh my god, bro. I think I'm gonna start watching that and just just write down stuff that I notice I could just pull from my character because that's such a good movie to
Yeah,
me.
it's about obsession,
It is.
Yeah, similar. So if you like The Wrestler, those kind of movies, that one's like very much on the nose about dying for your craft,
Yep.
and what you'll do to like put on a show.
Yep. Or you
Or
can watch the other version, The Illusionist, and think that it's the same
I've
thing.
never
And
seen it.
it's not the same thing.
I've never I know, but they came out at the same time. I've
Yeah, they
never seen
did.
and I love Edward Norton, right? Edward Norton played
Right.
that? Yeah, Gary Oldman too, I believe.
Yeah, and Paul Jim
Giamatti.
Yeah.
He's incredible too. Yeah,
Yep, and Jessica Biel.
I'll watch it. I'll get around to it at some point.
Yeah.
It's on my list. I gotta put that in the phone so I can watch it on the flight.
Alright. Well, Apple or Android?
Droid. I'm a droid guy.
Favorite TV show?
Um, I watch so much TV stuff. I mean, like either The Office or Parks and Rec if we're just talking like casual kind of TV watch, and that's like an everyday viewing kind of thing for me.
Yeah,
I could
yeah,
do that. Cowboy Bebop, probably all time, like just closed off series. It's so good. Yeah, there's a lot.
I
There's a lot.
was so
I'm
mad.
watching Severance right now. It's freaking great. It's really good.
I was so mad because they were gonna do a live action movie of Cowboy Bebop, and Keanu Reeves was gonna be the
I heard
star,
that. I heard
and it
that.
never
They
happened.
wound up doing the TV show on
Yep.
Netflix, and they put John Cho in there, and who was
It's
also like in his late 40s. Like I
yeah.
don't know. There were some cool things about it, but it wasn't. The anime is
Yeah.
wow, so good.
Yeah, yeah. Waffles or pancakes?
Ooh, oh. I don't want to say waffles, but I like I like dude. I like both. All right, I'll say waffles.
I'll
Just
take
for
both. I'll take both answers. All right, this is a brand new question. I literally just threw this in here for you. Favorite celebrity interaction?
favorite. Um, I mean, I was lucky that I got to coach a lot of the celebrities at like WWE. So like my time that I spent training Bad Bunny was really fun. Just because he put like everything on hold to do what we do, and that was
Yep.
very admirable. Um, so that was really cool. Getting to coach Stone Cold was like super surreal and crazy. But that was also really fun. Like he's an athlete who's been out for 19 years at the time and had to get back into it. So I had to kind of think about making him comfortable more than anything. So that on top of like that's kind of why I got into wrestling. Oh, it was really cool. The last like interaction I had at WWE backstage was hanging out with Ken Shamrock, and I'd never met him before, and he's kind of the reason like why I got into wrestling so much at the time. I love like his style and like his intensity, and he was like the OG UFC guy. So like I kind of like took a lot of that, especially when I first started wrestling. And then, I took that into the more technical guys later, like the Guerreros and, the Malenkos and that whole crew.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting to meet Ken Shamrock, like right before I left WWE that's perfect. That's like, you couldn't have ended that any better for me. Like with that, honestly. And if you know me, you're laughing about it right now. So
That
yeah,
would be a surreal moment. You know what's funny? Because I watched so UFC 1 was the reason why, like, I got more hardcore into amateur wrestling, but UFC 1 out of McNichols Arena at the time because there was no Pepsi Center when the Nuggets were playing. I knew that was there. I had the videotape, and I used to watch it all the time, and my best friend in high school and I, we used to wrestle and try to work for tap outs and submissions while watching the UFC events. And my God, man, like it 20-30 minute drag out on a carpet. We'd
oh
have
yeah.
rug burns all over, like working. All right, let me keep going. Marvel or DC?
Uh Probably Marvel. Yeah, I like both, but probably I lean Marvel, I think.
Okay. Favorite podcast?
Favorite podcast? The Tim Ferriss show. I listen to that one a lot. Yeah.
I like that. I like that show too. Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Oh, let's see. I think you should get Denver, Colorado on here.
I
So,
agree.
yeah, I think he'd be a good one to have on here and kind of learn from him and talk about his story with Beyond Wrestling. I think it's really interesting.
Yep. He's an amazing person to like pick up and learn stuff from.
Yeah.
And last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show: favorite curse word.
Favorite curse word?
Yeah,
Oh my god, motherfucker.
that's a great pick.
Yeah, you sound, like
Yep.
there's a reason why Samuel L. Jackson says it.
Yeah, it just
Phrase.
is so nice. All right, listen, those are all
Oh,
my questions that I have for you, man. So all I need you to do is let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
yeah. So I'm pretty easy to find on social media. You can find me at Drew Gulak. I'm mostly active on Instagram. And if you are interested in training to become a professional wrestler, follow at the Catchpoint. That is the name of our wrestling school, Catchpoint Philadelphia. It's at thecatchpoint.com. You can either ask me if you have any questions or just find that account and feel free to follow along.
Yeah, so he gave you all of his handles. He told you about his school and just let you know he is the man. He's a man. He's a man right there who leads us in Catch Point.
There he
All
is. Yeah.
right. So what does that mean? Like every great part of a wrestling match, we gotta take this home because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And it's never about me; it's about who's entering. So who's entering? You see him right there, Drew Gulak, and you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you're legitimately following us on all of our social media platforms. You're subscribed to our YouTube channel. You're even checking us out on Spotify, Amazon Music, that one app with the dumb jingle that goes iHeartRadio or whatever it is. You're checking us out on foryourwear.com. You're even listening to us you're checking out our merch on prowrestlingtees.com. You're telling your mom about it, your dad about it, your aunties, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your best friends, your cousins, and your enemies, because we love haters too. You're doing all that stuff, or you're really just kind of waiting for this episode to end, waiting for the outro.
Hey, Auntie, you got to check out the 3 Count Podcast.
See, he's doing
Yeah.
it. You got to do it too.
Got to check this out. Buy all their merch too.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So with that, we out. Kawaii. What's up? It is your friendly neighborhood Red Dog, and thank you for checking out this episode of the 3 Count Podcast. Whether that was Chaz Friends, Red Dog Friends, Damien Friends, The Films Lounge, Now Entering the Ring, Now Entering 201, or Now Returning to the Ring, all those great episodes, you should really be liking, commenting, and even sharing this with your friends, family, whoever it may be. But what you all should be doing is checking us out on all of our social media platforms at 3Count Pod, whether that's on IG, Twitch, you can check us out on Threads, whatever it may be. And if you go check us out on X, it is 3Count_pod. Check us out on YouTube, as well as Facebook, on Rumble, on Apple Music, on Spotify, all those fun things. Tell your mom about us, your dad about us, your aunties, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, and your best friends and your enemies, because we love haters too. Do all that stuff. And then, last but not least, buy our merch on foryourwear.com or prowrestlingtees.com. Kawaii.